Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Gabe,
And it's Caleb.
and you are watching the 16th episode of the Positive Outlook podcast.
16 episodes.
16. We are going at it. What is this? Going on month 5
Wow.
coming up. It's been almost half a year of this amazing, fun journey that we both started. It's been a ton of fun. But Caleb, what are we talking about today?
Today we're going to talk about how you are your own worst critic.
You are your own worst critic. Now,
Yep.
give me like a little rundown on what that means to you.
So a lot of people are very hard on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I just figured we'd kind of address it.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of find some solutions.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about this. We had Brandon Granger on last week, which kind of sparked a little bit more conversation afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta fix my mic. I don't think it's
It's a
there we
good
go. It might
hour.
be better. So it sparked a little bit of conversation afterwards. How we were just talking about how people just don't appreciate themselves enough,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so important. And it kind of, I mean, when you're thinking about it, what do you think? Is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing?
Yes.
Okay, go on.
I think that it is a great attribute to have because you're less likely to just kind of settle.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to be careful because I feel like it's super dangerous to go into territory of never being enough.
Right.
Always inadequate.
Yeah. And so so I guess we can kind of spin this here. A good topic to think about is accountability.
Mm-hmm.
How does accountability swing into this?
Well, when people go through and have a challenge and they're working towards it and they give up, maybe there's an obstacle, they just kind of stop moving. That accountability needs to be a factor,
Mm-hmm.
which is a big piece of being a critic of yourself.
Yeah.
Because if your accountability isn't in check, then it actually can go both ways. Either you blame too many people around you, or you literally go back and blame yourself for every little thing that went wrong.
Yeah.
And so I think that's huge to balance your accountability.
Yeah. So being aware of self accountability is huge.
Mm-hmm.
But like you mentioned, you got to be careful. You can't really ride that line of I'm a failure or I'm too good.
Right.
Because a lot, a movie, say someone creates a new product, right?
Okay.
A new hair care product. And they're like, oh, trust me, it is the best thing possible. Here, I'm going to let you use it. And then someone tries to give them feedback and they're like, no, we don't want feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I just believe this is the best product. So
Right.
take my word for it. Now that product, being the inventor of it, sometimes you like to think, and this goes with your life, when you are doing a project or you're doing something to better yourselves, you don't see the flaws in it because you don't want to see the flaws.
Yep.
You see all the good things that is bringing, and that is all you focus on. But if you don't get that external view of the critic, then it's not going to boost you at all. It's not going to help you progress or improve what you need to do. And so you got to be careful on that line of accountability of not being too proud, I guess.
Absolutely.
And so ego does get in the way a little bit. You have to take that step back and almost view yourself as an external, like Brandon Granger was saying. View yourself as someone who loves you, And so take your parents, for example. When you mess up at a certain instance in life, it's like, how would my mom react to me doing this? How would she give me advice?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you're not going to beat your son down.
Right.
It's going to be like, all right, let me give him some advice to like keep him going, that kind of thing.
And that's where you have a parent balance sometimes.
Yeah.
One usually likes to kick you while you're down. Not literally.
Yeah.
But give you a hard time for it. And then
Yeah.
the other one is kind of the pick-me-up.
Yeah. But it's nice because then you get both perspectives
Right.
of it. And it's nice. It's just easy flowing. So, being your own worst critic, where does that lead you in life when it comes to a challenge? How does being aware of that help you tackle something?
It definitely helps you tackle something because a lot of times, at least personally, like say I'm at the gym
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going for a new max. Well, if my form's off, I'm going to be the first one to know it 9 times out of 10.
Right.
And so I'll know, okay, this is how I can improve. It's taking that step back.
Mm-hmm.
But you also need to make sure that you're not just negatively reviewing your performance.
Right.
Like, I did great. I tried hard. There's just tweaks you can make to make it better.
Yeah. And so one thing I've referred to a couple times in these last few episodes is Busty Yui.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like to repeat myself on the podcast because there's a lot of things that I feel you need to hear multiple times till you actually understand it. And one of them for me is Busty Yui. It's like if you come to a challenge in life and you go off track, don't beat yourself up. It's like your GPS. Your GPS isn't going to call you stupid or call you an idiot for for missing the turn.
It's going to recalculate.
Yeah, it just recalculates. Either find a different path to get there or just take a U-turn at the next available spot. And it's, you gotta be easy on yourself, because we're all human. That is my favorite thing to say, because it's so true. We are all human. We are all going through the same challenges. Some people have their different storms, but other people, it doesn't change that you have your own storms. And you do have to lay back sometimes. It's not a race, and if it is a race for you, it's not going to be a sprint. It's a marathon, and you got to take your time, and you got to care for yourself, or you're not going to make it to the end.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Where would you put yourself as your critic? Like, are you, usually people know if they lean more negatively on themselves or positively. Where would you put yourself?
I am so bad to myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 100% honest. So if I, have a task in life where I have to tackle it, I only focus on what I am doing wrong. I nitpick, and I find all the little things that I could be doing better. And like we were talking about last episode, how having that third person perspective where someone's like, dang, you're handling this really well. And it kind of snaps me out of my mindset. And I take a step back and I say, you know what? I am handling this pretty well. It's just I'm focusing on the little things that might not even matter. And so I'm beating myself up for those. And so that's one thing that I've been working on for a really long time, is trying to just self-love, appreciating myself. And I've come a very long way with that. And just understanding that I'm young, I have time, and I am doing the best I can. And that's one thing, that I would love to preach to these guys is, no matter how old you are, how far down the path you are, you're still trying. And as long as you're still trying, it's like that one quote, it's, if you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But no matter what, never stop moving.
Yeah.
And that is so true. As long as you are still moving, then you're doing your job.
Yep.
And that
still
is
farther than the guy that's sitting there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it is that, that's one thing that I have taken, and I'm aware of it. And that's a good thing. I'm aware that I am hard on myself, and I'm aware that I am a very bad critic of mine.
Yeah.
But it has also driven me to be who I am today. There are a lot of things where I could have just said, no, I'm not going to do it. But that inner critic won't let me accept no as an answer. There's been so many things in my life that provide me no value, but I do them because I told myself I'm not going to do them.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like something pops up and it's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Like, it might be difficult. It might be a challenge, but at the end of it, I'm not going to gain anything. And so I tell myself I'm not going to do it. And then the inner critic is like, oh, you can't do it? You can't do it? And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And so I do it, spend all this time on it. And then I'm like, what did I gain out of that? Other than letting my inner critic win. And sometimes it's good. You got to take the small victories, and it is good to be hard on yourself.
Definitely.
But there's a line that you don't want to cross.
It's kind of like, and this comes more with, I guess, I don't know if it's self-critic, but when we're on the treadmill warming up,
yeah,
and we go up one,
yeah,
you're like, okay, all right, let's call it right here.
Yeah,
you have to go up.
Yeah, no matter what, we come to that. So Caleb and I do this thing at the gym. We'll be on the treadmill, and we'll be going for a run or something. And I'll say he started this. Okay, this isn't me. I set my speed at 7.5 miles per hour, and then he looked over at me one day. He goes, "Working hard or hardly working?" And I look, and he's got a speed at 7.6, and I was like, "This guy." And so I'm like, "Okay, well I have to run faster than him." And so I put it up to 7.7, and then we're sitting there in that constant battle of going up, and to the point where we're almost doing interval sprints where we get to the max speed, and then we're like, okay, we're both out of breath, turn it all the way down, and then I'm at 3 miles per hour just walking. I look over, it's at 3.1, and it's the same thing. I just start cranking up, and he'll crank up until we're sprinting again. And I think the first time we did it, we were just not really paying attention. We ran 1.5 miles.
Yeah.
And it was that was really good.
Well, and then this trickster he'll cover his number, and then he'll pretend like he's going a different speed. He'll make it look like he's just walking, when if you look down at his feet, he's at a full sprint. So you just got to play catch up and guess where he's at.
Yeah, and so it's really funny. But that comes to the point of having that critic, whether it's external or internal, having that critic mindset helps you push yourself.
Absolutely.
Because it's I'm going to be better than what I can be.
Right.
And it's one of my favorite quotes. I'm going to see if I can get it right. It's on the tip of my tongue, but it's I will never settle for less than I can be. And I love that quote because it's why settle than less than what you can provide for the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, when I was going through my darker times and like kind of just questioning what my purpose was and questioning if it was worth it to keep pushing forward, I would sit there and I would tell myself, when I would be on the line and I was kind of falling over the line of like, you're not good enough, you're just gonna live an average life kind of thing. I would kind of tilt on that line, and then I would just tell myself like, I have so many people to inspire in this lifetime, and that would just throw me way over the line, like in the positive side. And it helps you develop. It's tough because sometimes you have the two fronts. One that's telling you that you're not good enough, you're never going to make it, that side of the critic, or you have the critic that says, why aren't you doing more?
Mm-hmm.
Because you are good enough. And so that's, I will never settle for less than I can be.
And I think personally, for my personal like inner battles with that,
Mm-hmm.
it's important to just calm down,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, you're human and you're fighting still.
Mm-hmm.
And a big important piece of it is they'll end up both kicking you down.
Yeah.
Both of those fronts.
Yeah.
Because the good in you will be like, well, why aren't you doing more, and get angry.
Mm-hmm.
At least as a man, that's like my like initial reaction.
Yeah.
It's just, what are you doing?
Right.
And then there's a part of me that's like, just give up. And then they get angry because I haven't quite given up yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going through it and you're just taking crap from yourself so much.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, you're kind of just sitting there super exhausted. Like, what was that all for?
Mm-hmm. You did nothing.
And then, going back to choose your heart, it's like, are you going to be mad at yourself for not doing anything throughout the day? Or are you going to go through the pain of discipline?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just choose your heart. That was one thing that got me through day in and day out was, 6 months from now, I might be mad at myself for not doing anything with my life.
Yep.
And that will be hard on me. That'll be hard for me to realize that I've done nothing to grow myself, or I can go through the hard of the discipline and the work to put in to progress as a human being. And the hard of getting something done is always worth it.
Yeah.
It is. And that was one thing, that was hard for me to understand, is that you get so caught up on it. And one of them is a comfortable hard. Well, one of them is an uncomfortable hard.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to go uncomfortable, or else you're never going to grow. If you're always stuck in that bubble, like there's this Steve Harvey, kind of analogy that he gave, and it's the flea in the jar. And so, a flea outside the jar can jump 36 inches. It can just jump 36 inches, super tall. But you put it in a jar that has, a lid on it. It's a 12-inch jar. That flea is going to learn to only jump 12 inches.
Yep.
It's a third of what it's at. And so once that flea understands that it can only jump 12 inches in that environment, and then you remove it from that environment, it's still going to only believe it can jump 12 inches. And so it's not going to try to do any better than that or get any more uncomfortable in its practice. And that's how I feel like a lot of us are in life.
Mm-hmm.
We are in these situations in our environments that we're stressed. We have anxiety about it, and we feel like we are limited to what we are given in life.
Yep.
And it's because we are in this certain situation. But you never know when you are out of the situation. And once you get out of that situation, you can touch the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, never stop trying to touch the sky, because one day you're going to do it and be like, I could have done that the whole time. I was just limited by this or that. But don't use those as blame factors. You can't allow that. Like, everybody has that potential inside of them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Everybody does. Everybody that's watching this, everybody in the world has a potential to take over the world, or inspire, or influence. And it's just your power inside of you to take control of that and make it happen.
And I think I bring this story up every time that we talk about the flea in the jar.
Okay.
But I read it, and it was like one of my favorite stories. Can't believe I'd never heard it, because I read so many like short stories.
Uh-huh.
But it's the elephant on a rope.
Yep.
And so this guy is visiting this circus down in Africa sometime in like the 50s. And he notices that these giant, massive elephants are the only thing holding them in place is one little rope, one little piece of rope. And so he's amazed, and he's like, why don't they just pull the rope and escape? So he goes and finds one of the owners and trainers, and he asks them, and he says, well, when they're little tiny, I don't know if you call them calves,
I'm not sure.
but baby elephants, and we tie them to the rope, and at that age, the rope's strong enough to hold them in place. And so they grow up their whole life thinking this rope is too strong, it's unbreakable. And so even though they build up their strength, they get much bigger, so much growth, they still are stuck to the mindset of this rope is holding me back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very similar story to the flea in the jar.
Yeah.
Because it's capable of yanking its leg, and there goes the rope.
Right.
It's unleashed, and your full potential is there.
Yeah. I mean, and it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
It is so true. At any moment's notice, we could tackle a challenge that we wouldn't think we could tackle for another 100 years. And then we do it, and then it's just a snowball effect of, I am good enough.
Yep.
I am strong enough. And that's when that positive self-critic comes out. But it's truly amazing, all the self-growth that I've discovered is possible in such a short amount of time. And I know I am just starting, and that excites me more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
That, I felt like I've grown so much as a person over this last half year, but I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. And so it's incredible. And I know everybody out there, you guys can do it too. Everybody has it inside of them. It's up to you to take the initiative. Nobody's going to make you do it. You got to be your own critic. You got to get out there, tackle the challenges that scare you, and just tell yourself you can do it, and understand when you need to be doing something. Be critical of yourself.
Because there is one singular person that has to know you can do it. One person out of 7 billion. The only person that needs to know you can do it is you.
Just you. Nobody else. And nobody else is going to make you do it. But nobody else needs to understand why you're doing it. Because it's not their life, it's not their vision, it's not their goal, it's not their dream. It's just you.
It's like I heard there's a quote, and it's people are going to be annoyed with whatever you end up choosing, so you might as well choose what makes you happy.
Right. Yeah, there's going to be people who give you dirty opinions on either side. So just do what makes you happy. There's nothing wrong with ever doing what makes you happy.
And
as long as it's not at the expense of others.
Beat yourself up. You fail, that's all part of the process. You will learn so much.
Yeah.
Just don't give yourself such a hard time. Lighten up a little bit. It's okay. At least you tried.
And make sure to learn from your failures. The only true failure in life is not learning from a failure.
Yeah.
And so every time you fail, there's a lesson behind it. There's something to be learned. There's a new way you can attack the challenge that you just failed on. But just remember to always keep learning.
You know what the definition of insanity according to Einstein is?
I do, but I'm going to let you explain it.
Crap, I just threw me off a little.
The definition of insanity.
It's doing something the same time over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. And so, that's the fun thing too, is when you fail, it's like, well, that didn't work. Time to come up with a new way to problem solve, and
those are the cliches everyone hears, but it's so important.
Yeah.
They didn't make anything on the first attempt. Any successful person has never done it in one try.
Right.
Not one. Name one. If you can find one, comment down below.
Please do.
Because I would love to hear about him. I've been searching for the one try man.
The one try man.
I don't think he's out there.
Yeah. That just reminded me. I don't know why this popped into my head, but completely a tangent of it was like if you first fail at something you do, don't try skydiving or something like that. It's just like, because if you fail while you're skydiving, you're not going to get a second chance. And so, all right, this is a funny joke to end the video. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
I hope you guys have a great week.
Make it a great week.
Yes. Do something that scares you. Every day think, what's something that'll push me a little bit further and further out of my comfort zone.
Even if it scares you to subscribe, I still want you to try it. That's just a little click.
Yes, everybody think about that. All right, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next Monday.
Absolutely. Have a good week, guys.
Bye.